based on the untold true story.
You've all been selected because we're going to need your knowledge and we're going to need your skill.
They're the Monuments Men.
The Nazis are taking everything, and we better get it back.
It feels like a treasure hunt.
That doesn't make it any less dangerous.
They're not soldiers.
I've never shot anyone before.
But on February 7th,
if Germany falls, they're to destroy everything.
It's your responsibility now.
They'll become heroes.
We have some unfinished business.
We gotta go!
The Monuments Men, rated PG-13, February 7th.
Jewish Channel's Weekend Review. The Canadian Prime Minister goes to Israel. When cronuts go kosher style. A brand new show coming to the Jewish Channel. And more of the Jewish news that's changing your world right now in this episode of the Weekend Review. Hello and welcome to the Jewish Channel's Weekend Review. I'm Stephen I. Weiss. Iran has suspended high-level uranium enrichment, according to the International Atomic Energy Agency, or IAEA, fulfilling part of the deal negotiated with international governments led by the United States. Centrifuges at the uranium enrichment facility in Natanz have stopped spinning. The move came with an announcement by Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif, calling the deal, quote, a positive outcome for the country and would bring further peace and stability to the region and the world. The U.S. State Department announced Monday that it has begun to implement the limited sanctions relief called for in the deal. The interim deal is meant to last 6 months, while a final deal is ironed out. And while Israel hopes it has less to worry about in regard to a nuclear Iran, it was celebrating an international friendship this week with our friends north of the border. Canadian Prime Minister Stephen Harper visited Israel this past week in a delegation that included a number of Canadian rabbis and other Jewish leaders. It was Harper's first trip to Israel after 7 years as Prime Minister, but well before this trip, Harper has become known as the most outspoken advocate of Israel and Israeli government policies among current heads of state, and perhaps going back decades. Harper was given a ceremonial key to the Knesset, the first time that honor has been given. In a 20-minute speech to Knesset, he spoke of the value of Israel, the reason he feels it faces criticism on the international stage, and the need for an independent Palestinian state. Another international visitor making her voice heard in Israel is the winner of Israel's television singing competition, X Factor. Rose Fostanes is a Filipina who had been on a work visa as a caregiver to an Israeli family. Now, as the winner of X Factor, Fostanes is getting a new work visa that categorizes her as an artist. The 47-year-old Fostanes has been working as a caregiver in Israel for 6 years, has been working abroad and sending money home to her family for 23 years, and she lives in a small apartment in Tel Aviv with 7 other temporary workers. Speaking of working under foreign governments, Germany is making a small payment to Jews in Amsterdam for their having provided, quote, voluntary labor in the ghetto set up in the Netherlands during the Nazi occupation. The one-time payments of $2,700 have already drawn more than 1,000 applicants. In another episode of seeking international justice for anti-Semitism, a French Jew killed 344 years ago after being found guilty in a blood libel has been posthumously exonerated and declared a martyr by the village of Glatigny. Raphael Levy had been found guilty of murder in the year 1670 for the death of a 3-year-old boy. Meanwhile, another former home of Jewish persecution made a strong philo-Semitic move last week. The Vatican's kitchen was made kosher for a visit by Argentinian rabbis to new Pope Francis, who had been cardinal in Argentina. A fully kosher menu was prepared by Roman restaurant Baghetto. But speaking of transforming cuisine to Jewish desires, one pastry that's gotten quite famous in recent months is the cronut, a croissant-style donut invented in a Manhattan bakery. And now that particular type of pastry fusion is being brought to bear on Jewish classics, as Meredith Gansman reports.
Come rain, shine, or even snow, people come and wait in line outside of Dominique Ansel Bakery in Manhattan's Soho neighborhood for cronuts, a scrumptious synthesis of the donut and the croissant, created by pastry pioneer Dominique Ansel.
Croissant, everybody knows what it is, and same with donut, both things together, people have never seen it before. So it's very exciting for people to see, and they imagine already what it can taste like.
And it's delicious. Since the cronut debuted last summer, customers have gone crazy for the confection, and a new era of food hybrids is here.
Why do people love hybrid food? I think it's because it's new, because it's different. And
So what other Jewish foods can you cross with a croissant?
You know, we weren't really trying to do anything too crazy. It's just a nice flaky dough.
Or is a cr'nish, by any other crust, as classic a Jewish cuisine? Ron Silver, owner and chef of Bubby's Pie Company, thinks so. He's the creator of the cr'nish, you guessed it, a cross between a croissant and a cr'nish.
One of the things that I really try to do at Bubby's is to sort of restore the American table and really go back and look at recipes. And then, you know, if I can make small adjustments to it, then we'll do it. So I think of it as a sort of classical cr'nish in a way. I mean, my first introduction to cr'nishes was on a beach in Coney Island in the 60s. So, and those were, I mean, I have fond memories of it, and I guess I feel like this croissant dough is really a nice addition in a way.
You gotta try this. That is excellent. Very good. Very, very good. Let's I'm putting the cr'nish down. I'm going for cr'nish. This is a good thing. This is a very good hybrid. But the cr'nish isn't the only Jewish croissant hybrid. My pastry journey continues with the kregel at the bagel store in Williamsburg, Brooklyn.
Oh, this would be the native New Yorker bagel, absolutely. If I didn't call it the kregel, I'd call it the native New Yorker.
Yes, the kregel is a cross between the bagel and the croissant, a concept that took the bagel store's chief bagel officer, Scott Rosillo, almost a year to refine. This isn't Rosillo's first bagel breakthrough. He showed me how to roll a red rose petal bagel for Valentine's Day.
Eons.
There, done, and
There is no wrong way to make a bagel.
there. Should we just dig in? What can you tell me? How should I prepare myself for this monumental event?
I think you need to take a deep breath. And then we need to dig in and enjoy the euphoric emotion that's going to follow.
Okay, I'm going
Let's go.
for it. Ooh, oh my gosh, this does look good. No,
Good job.
that's awesome. For more on new Jewish food hybrids, tune into the full broadcast version of the Week in Review.
Thank you, Meredith. He's a sports agent with such a large impact that he's become known as a super agent and is said to be the source for the character of Jerry Maguire. Lee Steinberg recently came out with his memoir, as Christian Needham reports.
The title of Lee Steinberg's new book is a simple one, The Agent. But over his eventful 40-year career as a game-changing sports agent, Steinberg redefined the power of his job and achieved professional success that put him in high demand among the millionaire athletes he represented. Yet Steinberg came from a much quieter Los Angeles Jewish background. He sat down with TJC to discuss his new memoir and the influence his Jewish roots had on his professional career.
My Jewish upbringing was mostly cultural. So my dad stressed good family values, education, belief in the state of Israel, and the admonition to try to do good and make a difference in the world.
And it was the LA Dodgers who made a difference in Steinberg's world growing up, especially Jewish star pitcher Sandy Koufax.
Koufax was the best pitcher maybe in the history of baseball, and he was Jewish, and he didn't pitch on Yom Kippur. And that was very inspirational as a young man.
His first Jewish client was John Frank, tight end for the San Francisco 49ers during the 1980s.
He was a great player from Ohio State, but naturally he retired to come back to New York and be a plastic surgeon, so fitting the stereotype.
Next was Ukrainian immigrant and NFL defensive lineman Igor Olshansky, drafted by the San Diego Chargers in 2004. Finally, there was Los Angeles Dodgers outfielder Sean Green.
When he came to the Dodgers, my partner Jeff Morad did the deal. I was so excited, and we involved him in Jewish activities, so he became a role model. The whole premise of my practice was the athlete as role model.
In the early 1990s, Steinberg used his immense influence to save not one, but 2 baseball teams from leaving town, helping keep the Giants in San Francisco and the Athletics in Oakland.
I always wanted to be a steward of sport as well as someone who represented athletes. So when Mayor Frank Jordan of San Francisco called and said, I don't know what to do, our baseball team has been sold to a group in Tampa Bay, St. Petersburg, I felt, because I lived part-time in the Bay Area, like I wanted to help him.
For a guy with so much success, it was only a matter of time before Hollywood took notice, and all of that became the basis for the 1996 film Jerry Maguire.
I actually took Cuba Gooding Jr. with me down to the Super Bowl in Arizona to make him get into character for a week. I had to show the quarterback, Jerry O'Connell, how to throw a spiral because he had gone to NYU and they didn't have football there. Then they descended on my office and they took pictures off the wall, and Jerry Maguire's head appears on my body. They took my awards, they took shots out.
To see more from Lee Steinberg about his new memoir, The Agent, My 40-Year Career Making Deals and Changing the Game, out now from St. Martin's Press, please tune into the full broadcast edition of The Week in Review.
Thank you, Christian. Finally, this week we're launching a new show on the Jewish Channel. Up Close takes a deep dive into issues with interviews and small panels. In this first episode, we examine 2 famous leaders in history, Thomas Jefferson and King David, with the authors of new biographies of those men, Random House executive editor John Meacham and Yale University's Joel Baden. The full episode is available on TJC in the interviews category, and a short preview will go up on YouTube. We'll also be releasing an audio-only version of the show in podcast form, to which you can subscribe via iTunes or any other podcast player. Here are some of the highlights from my interview with John Meacham about his book, Thomas Jefferson, The Art of Power. With a book like this, you're exploring a very important figure in United States history, a revolutionary figure, but even more so, Thomas Jefferson remains perhaps the most controversial of the so-called founding fathers. And in particular of late, it seems that exactly what his biography was, exactly what went on in his life, remains an extremely controversial topic in terms of people disagreeing about what happened. Why do you think that's so?
Jefferson is, I think, the most vivid founder, and I think it's because no one articulated the promise of American life more brilliantly, and no one so overtly failed so badly to live up to those ideals in his private life. And I think when we're being honest with ourselves, we all know that we fall far short of the aspirational goals more often than we meet them.
You paint a picture of Jefferson living this life. It's a very privileged life, and it's very distant from a lot of the conflict that really characterized that early struggling.
Absolutely. He came from the very top of Virginia's slave-owning society. One of the most important things to recall is the revolutionary cause in Virginia was very much an elite phenomenon until a man whose name is totally lost to history, Lord Dunmore, who was the royal governor, issued a declaration saying that any African American who fought for the British would receive their freedom. That instantly changed the dynamic and brought what we would now think of as the middle classes, the more working class people, into a frame of mind where the revolution had more resonance. So the story of the beginning of the country is not a unalloyed fairy tale by any means.
One of the funny things that I quickly came to realize when reading this biography is no matter how far you turn back the clock, every president had daddy issues.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
And it tends to be, to me it's really interesting. Presidents tend to come from either incredibly dominating patriarchs or have no father at all. There's almost nothing in between. If you're raising a normal child, they have no hope of being president. So with Jefferson, he died when he was 14, and he very much idealized that figure. An unusual number of American presidents have never known their father, or the name under which they became president was not their birth name. Gerald Ford, Bill Clinton, Andrew Jackson didn't know his father. Barack Obama met his father once. So it's a wonderful psychological study for a dissertation.
Again, you can see the full episode of Up Close in the interviews category on the Jewish Channel on demand on cable, and can listen to the audio-only version as a podcast. That's all for this week. From all of us here at the Jewish Channel, be well. The Jewish Channel is available on cable. Time Warner Cable Channel 528, IO Optimum Channel 505, RCN Channel 268, Bright House Channel 330, Verizon Fios Channel 900, Cox Cable Channel 1, Frontier Communications, and on Comcast in the on-demand menu under Premium Channels. For more information, visit tjctv.com.